Madam Speaker, I rise in full support of the Inflation Reduction Act. I look forward, as I have in the past, to this moment, reciting the wisdom that is often referenced by me because the words come from another son of Massachusetts, Mr. Webster. And over the Speaker's rostrum that adorns this marvelous institution, which I love, the quote is simple: "Let us develop the resources of our land, call forth its powers, build up its institutions, and promote all its great interest, and see whether we also in our day and generation may not perform something worthy to be remembered." The Inflation Reduction Act is something worthy of being remembered. This is substantive and transformative legislation, a reminder to all that in legislative life and its rhythms, we generally pursue perfection but accept the possible. Part of that is what we are marking at this moment. This is a historic win for family pocketbooks, for Americans' health, and for the future of climate security. And we fund these gains by ensuring that large, profitable companies pay their fair share, just like all members of the American family are asked to do. The Inflation Reduction Act will lower costs for the first time. Medicare will negotiate drug prices, and there will be a cap on what comes out of seniors' pockets for their life-saving prescriptions. No more rationing or foregoing necessary medicines. We are lowering health care costs for millions of lower income, and middle-income Americans by extending the Affordable Care Act's premium tax credit enhancements through 2025. Let me give you a statistic that is compelling. 100% of the children in Massachusetts have health insurance. 97% of the adults in Massachusetts have health insurance, and it polls extraordinarily well in terms of its success ratios because we decided with labor, business, Democrat, and Republican to make it work, and we did. These enhanced premium credits, first enacted by the American Rescue Plan, have made way for record low uninsured rates that have put hundreds of dollars back into the pockets of low and middle income Americans. This legislation will also make the largest investment in tackling climate change that our nation has ever witnessed, ever. The investments in clean energy, energy efficiency, and clean manufacturing will generate 9 million good-paying jobs. And these historic wins are achieved with sensible and responsible multi-year investments in the IRS. I have been a member of the Ways and Means Committee, Madam Speaker, for 30 years. Let me give our friends an interesting statistic about the American family. We have the highest voluntary compliance rate in the world. 86% of the American people pay their taxes. This idea that we're creating 87,000 armed representatives of the federal government to go out and harass the American people is nonsensical. Retirements alone are going to require a substantive investment. The IRS has fewer than 20% of the employees that it once did. What's important to remember here is this, that we want to make sure with this investment in the IRS that we continue to have a high voluntary compliance rate and also to invest in the necessary technology that will allow the modeling to make sure that compliance remains with us as well. These are historic investments and achievements, and they also are going to continue our quest on the Democratic side here for an element of tax fairness that will hold people at the very top as responsible as the other side likes to hold people who receive the EITC tax credit in terms of their requests for audits. We do this simply by asking the most powerful among us to pay their fair share. This is what a full and fair tax administration is about. The American people have been through an unthinkable hardship over the last 2.5 years, but they entrusted Joe Biden and congressional Democrats to keep them safe and to rebuild our economy. So here's a fact. On March 11th of 2020, Dr. Fauci gave his warning. He warned us of what was coming. In April of 2020, America had lost 22 million jobs. Here we are 2 years later in the Biden administration, every job has been returned, and there are 10.6 million jobs that go unanswered right now in the American economy. We've bounced back faster than we imagined. Not only have all these jobs been returned, 51 straight days gasoline prices have fallen. That's an issue about supply and demand, by the way. It's about international events, including the Russian invasion of Ukraine, supply across the world and chains. Those chains that I've just referenced, they have been shored up, and retailers are starting to realistically address some speculation as it relates to price. And Democrats shouldn't be asked to do this alone, but we're being asked to do it today alone. We're going to hear a lot of Washington talk from folks on the other side that want to address the politics of the situation rather than cap the cost of insulin for their constituents. They want to protect the pocketbooks of those who would raise prescription drug prices unnecessarily and cut costs for workers and their families, which we intend to do. You're going to hear a lot of spin on this bill that's received a lot of endorsements, even from bipartisan former Treasury Secretary, but that's because the opponents are out of options. The Inflation Reduction Act sets our nation on a healthier, fairer, and more prosperous path. We've heard the calls of the American people, and with the Inflation Reduction Act, we continue to win this moment for them in its totality. I urge our colleagues to support this legislation, and I reserve the balance of our time.